What's up, guys? RyHo here, and as you can tell by my best Freddy sweater, it's not quite the right colors, but I thought it looked pretty good. I want to talk about the remake that is definitely on everybody's minds right now, the new version of A Nightmare on Elm Street, which just came out last night. It's directed by Samuel Bayer, and it stars Rooney as our Nancy character and Jackie Earle Haley as Fred Krueger. I want to get right into it, but I kind of want to throw out there, maybe right off the hop, my thoughts about it and my overall opinion of the movie, I guess. It's kind of a weird way to do it, but I tried to do this video already a couple times, and I've tried not to have spoilers, but I'm definitely going to have spoilers in this video, so right off the hop I just want to say that I liked the movie, and I enjoyed watching it. Now we're going to get into the spoiler section, so if you guys don't want to watch this right now and you want to check out the movie first or something like that, please do that, and don't ruin it on yourself. But the first thing I guess I want to talk about is some cons, some things that I didn't like, and I'll sort of work my way into some things that I did like. The biggest con for me, and the first thing I want to talk about, I thought it was really shitty, was the CG in this movie. There isn't a lot of it. That's definitely a plus that you have to say about the film. A lot of these movies these days are really filled with too much CG, and it's shitty. And this movie, there's very little, but it's really shitty. In the original movie, there was this really great scene where Nancy's lying in bed, and you have this image kind of pull out of the wall, and I just always thought that was a really great, really well shot scene in the original movie, and in this one they do this really shitty CG Freddy that comes out of the wall. I thought in Freddy vs. Jason, the worm Freddy, the breaks out that huge bong, that was way better than this wall Freddy. I thought that looked so bad. And there's some other spots, I don't want to get into all of them. The very ending, the very ending, I thought that looked like shit too. I just thought that the CG was just so glaringly bad, but again, there isn't a lot of it, and I'll touch on that again in a bit. Another thing that I found really weird, and I kind of came upon this when I got home and I was thinking about it. There's really no connection to the whole Elm Street thing. In the original film, you have all these kids that are friends, and they all live on the same street, and it's Elm Street. And there's sort of this connection where Freddy's trying to kill them, because in his former life he was the Springwood slasher, this child killer, and they all live on Elm Street, so it's like A Nightmare on Elm Street. He's going through all of them, and the idea is that Elm Street is there's always an Elm Street, anywhere USA kind of thing. In this film, it shows the sign to Elm Street at one point. I think you can only really say for sure that one of the kids lives on Elm Street, although you sort of get the vibe that they all live in this suburban USA town, and maybe they do all live on Elm Street or something like that, but it's not really, the connection between the kids isn't the whole Elm Street thing. There's this backstory that they get into, and that'll be something I'll talk about in a moment as well. But the connection between them isn't really the Elm Street thing, and the movie's climax isn't on Elm Street. It's in this sort of random location, which I just thought was kind of weird, but I guess it's not a really big detractor, but I wanted to talk about it. Another thing that sort of bothered me, and it's definitely a con, was the later half of the film. And before I get into that, I guess I should talk about my opinion of Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy. A lot of people were worried that he's going to do it just wasn't going to live up to Robert Englund's Freddy, and I think the way you have to look at it is it's sort of a different kind of Freddy. But regardless of that, he did a really good job. I think he did a really good job of being Freddy Krueger. I loved the makeup. A lot of people thought they weren't going to like the makeup. They were saying they didn't like how it had this really burn victim look to it. And I thought it was really good. I thought it definitely sets the two different Freddys apart. The original Freddy looked a lot like how Robert Englund actually looked. There was a lot of his face in there. And in this one they've sort of gone ahead and made this real burn victim look, but they've sort of homaged that original look. He's got some gore on his cheeks and stuff. And I thought it looked great. I thought he did it for the first half of the film. He did a great, his own version of Freddy, a dark, really angry, vengeful Freddy. I just thought it was really cool. He had some really chilling things that he said. He had some cool little ticks. You know, he kind of did this and he scratched his claws together. It was really cool. I thought it was a really nice touch. I think he just brought a lot of his own ideas to the character and made it something different, and I really liked that. But the con here is that at the end of the movie, I guess, I'm assuming at some point somebody said to them, you know, we want to touch on the joking quote, you know, Freddy quotes of the later movies, and they had him say these really canned Freddy lines, and I feel like they're just lines that were lifted from other Nightmare on Elm Street films, and he just didn't, it wasn't his character, and he delivered them as well as he could, but a lot of them fell flat. A lot of them, yeah, most of them fell flat. A few of them, they worked out alright, but it just wasn't his version, and I thought that, you know, it felt like it was something they just tacked on at the end. Like they were like, you know, let's have him say this, and it just wasn't his version of the character, and that was unfortunate. I thought that he was doing a really great job. I think he did do a great job throughout the whole film. I liked his Freddy, but the way they did that at the end, I didn't really care for. That gets me to sort of the ending of the film. I just felt like this. It was such an abrupt ending. You know, there's a lot of build up to it, I guess. They introduced this sort of interesting idea of micronaps. Basically, the kids actually do some research into insomnia and what it does to your body, and they sort of look at this whole idea that after a while of being awake, your body starts going to these micronaps that you don't even know what it's doing to try and sustain itself, and eventually you know you do fall into some kind of a coma. You know, you just can't stay awake forever, kind of thing, and it's sort of interesting because these micronaps happen, they don't realize they're in them, and they're having these dream sequences thrown at them when they don't expect it. And I thought that was a cool little aspect. So it sort of builds up to the ending, but when the ending hits, it happens so fast. In the original film, you have this cool thing where Nancy's, you know, she's decided she's going to take Freddy on. She's had enough. And it's sort of this cool, you know, revenge movie at this part. She's had enough of Freddy. She's going to deal with him. She gets, you know, she's really strong, and she makes these traps and does all this stuff. In this film, it's sort of like she comes up with the idea on the fly. But I should also say that the characters in this film are not the same characters. Although she's Nancy, she's not the same Nancy. She's this Nancy Holbrook or something like that. I'll get to that in a moment. But you know, it sort of happens on the fly, and it didn't have the same feel to it. Not that it's a bad idea, I guess, to do it that way, but it was just so quick and abrupt, and they sort of throw away the whole idea where she turns her back on Freddy and she really faces her nightmare and says, you know, this isn't real and you have no power and all that stuff. That's all, you know, that's fluff. It's gone. It's just sort of a stark, sort of realistic ending, which isn't a bad thing. It just happened too fast. I just felt like it was really abrupt. Those are my major cons about the movie. To get into some other aspects of it,